With Fairless Stampin Flair, and I'm here today with Connect to Create, which is a collaboration between Kathy Ondas and myself to share a video with you each week. We take turns, and this week it's my turn. Kathy is from Simply Cards by Kathy, and we've teamed up to kind of ease our own loads a little bit so we don't have to do it each week. We only have to do it every other week. Did you see Kathy's class last week or her video? It was Emboss Resist, and her cards were absolutely gorgeous. Today, the technique I'm going to show you is kind of similar, but in the reverse of Emboss Resist, and it's called Joseph's Coat. My card is not pretty, but I hope you think it's cute. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's see how to do Joseph's Coat. I'm going to put my camera down. Okay, hopefully you can see my desktop now. And this is the stamp set that we are going to be using. It's called Bewitching, and it's in the current mini catalog. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Halloween fan or celebrator of Halloween, but I usually do try to get one stamp set each year to add to my collection. And I thought this little guy was cute. My favorite part about it is that the hat comes with a coordinating punch, so it makes it easy to punch it out. But we're not going to be doing any punching today. We are going to do the Joseph's Coat technique. So let me get this out of my way. And we are going to be using these three stamps right here. And what you do with Joseph's Coat is you just kind of start covering your basic white cardstock with various colors. And you can choose whatever colors you like. I'm going to move these out of my way just here a bit. And today I am going to use Pumpkin Pie, Heather Highland, and Granny Apple Green. Purple, orange, and green and black are pretty much standard colors for Halloween, right? So for this technique, you start laying color on. I'm going to use a sponge dauber. You can use a blending brush if you like. You can use we used to have something called Stampin' Sponges, which are a little larger, might go a little quicker. I chose to use the daubers because they are faster than a blending brush, because I want the colors to be quite dark and intense. So with the blending brush, we'd be here a long time with me slowly putting on color after color. So I'm just going to start, and it doesn't have to be real precise. You want it to be kind of random. And you can see I even started right in the middle because it doesn't really matter what this looks like. You are just going to want to make sure that it's totally covered. So I'm just going to add some, this is Pumpkin Pie, and I'm going to add it here and there. And you can see I'm putting it on pretty dark, actually. And it doesn't have to be in circles. You can obviously make it in different shapes. You can make stripes. Squares, whatever you want. I'll just color in this corner here. Okay, and now I'm going to put my pumpkin pie away, and I will pull out my Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to move my little orange dauber somewhere else so I don't grab the wrong one. And I will use this Granny Apple Green one. And now we're going to start making colors on the card. And you can blend them into the color next to it. In fact, that's kind of the desired impact, is you want to sort of blend them together. You don't want white between them. I guess you could. It'll just give you a little bit different look. But white would be fine. In fact, maybe I should try that and leave a little white here and there. Okay, let's turn this around. Let's get some green over on this side. And you can see I'm not really being careful. Usually we would tell you don't ever hit in the middle because you don't want a dot, but in this case you'll see it doesn't really matter. And you'll see why in a bit. If you get a color where it looks like it is a dot, just put a dot next to it, and then you've got 2 dots, and that's fine too. Just get it to the intensity of the color you want and where you want that color. So let's just add a little bit here in the center. Blend it into this orange up here. Okay. So I've got pretty much, that's probably enough green. Does it look like maybe I need a little bit of green, maybe right up here, in this corner? This is not something you want to overthink. It really doesn't matter. You just kind of want it to be random. So now I'll bring in my Highland Heather. The first time I tried this, I did use Gorgeous Grape. And I found that it was a little bit on the dark side after we get to the final step. So I'm using Highland Heather, and I think it shows up just a little bit better. So now we're going to fill in the rest of it here with Highland Heather. And you can see if you wanted to get it this dark with a blending brush, you would kind of be here a long time. So that's why I'm using a sponge dauber. I didn't do myself any favors by making me make this little channel down here, did I? Oh, it's fine. It'll look beautiful in the end. Or should I say cute? I'm not sure a witch's hat would ever be considered beautiful, would it? Okay, so you can see that that's just kind of covered everywhere. So we are done with our colors. So I'm going to set these aside before I stick my arm in it. Not that that's ever happened to me. At least I don't have a white top on today, so that's good. Now we do want to make sure this is dry. So I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it briefly with my heat tool. Sorry for the noise. I know Kathy was really nice last week and she turned it off. I'm not going to do that. I'm just drying. It won't take long. I can dry from the back and the front just to make sure it's dry. I laid it on here pretty heavy, so that's why I want to make sure it's dry. And you'll see why in a minute if you're not familiar with this technique. Alternatively, you can just set it aside. If you were making multiples, obviously, you could just set it aside and do another one. So now an important thing is we want to take our embossing buddy, and I want to rub this whole thing with my embossing buddy to remove any static. And it also helps when you've got a lot of ink on. It doesn't get on there. That's why I wanted to dry it. I didn't want green, orange, and purple ink on my embossing buddy, but I do want to make sure this is nice and dry. Okay, so that should be good. Get that out of the way. And now we're going to start stamping with our Versamark. Where's my Versamark? Right there. I hid it under my embossing buddy. Okay, and now I'm going to start stamping with the hats on here, and I'm just going to randomly place hats. It's not really critical. You don't want them to overlap because you do want to be able to see the image of each hat. And I have two different ones. I've got the one that's plain and the one with the polka dots, and I'm going to use them both. With this technique, I have found that it works best when you have somewhat of a solid image. If you have a line image, it doesn't show up as much because you end up covering up most of the color that you've put down here. But because we're going to do this with Versamark, and then we're going to heat emboss it with clear, all these colors are going to show through your image. So to have a solid image seems to work a little bit better, at least in my opinion. Either that or it needs to have fairly thick lines. So let's just go ahead and ink this up. I always like to ink mine upside down. I don't know. So we'll just stick this guy kind of up here in the corner. Press and hold it for just a minute. Somebody told me to do that one time. Supposedly it helps with the transfer of the ink. Okay. Now, the most difficult part of this thing is sometimes this is really hard to see. So I'm going to start on one side and work my way over so that I can keep track, hopefully, of where I put these. So I'm going to ink up the dotted one, and I'm going to add the dotted one kind of down here in this corner. I've got a lot of lights on here today, so it does help me see a bit where it is. I don't know if you can see it or not. I hope you can, but I'm not sure if you can or not. So let's continue on over. So I've got one here, and I'm going to put this one smack dab kind of in the middle. Like I said, you don't want them to overlap, and you'll see why. Okay, and let's put another solid one down. Or maybe I should use polka dots. Polka dots are kind of cute. Let's use the polka dots. So I'm going to put a polka dot down here. This one is going to be partially off the paper. And I'm going to put another polka dot one up on top. I like the polka dots. I think the polka dots are cute. And I got a pretty good blank spot up here, so let's just fill most of that in with this. Okay, so that's all the hats I'm going to put in. Now, if you can see, and you may not be able to, you can see that I do have some relatively large areas because these hats are big, so you can't put them very close together. I have a large area up here and another one here, down here, over here on the side that are blank with nothing in them. So it's best to not have huge, large areas. So I'm going to use these little stars and just kind of fill in where I think I need something. Turn it around so it's in a little bit different orientation maybe. I think I have a blank spot right around in here somewhere. Like I said, it's a little hard to see, even for me with my nose right up on it. And I'm not sure how well you can see with the camera. But there is something that we can always do to figure it out. Sometimes you can pick it up and hold it in the light. Oh yeah, I got a big blank spot down here. So let's add some stars there. And I'm going to tip it around to see if I can see where I might need some more. I think I could use a couple right here in the center, but I don't know that I want all of them. So I'm just going to ink up about 3 of them. This may not work because I'm not totally cleaning it, but let's see if we can get 3 in there. Well, I see I got 2. I might not have gotten 3, but that's okay. We'll see how it turns out. So now I'm going to bring in after I cover up my Versamark, because embossing powder in your Versamark isn't pretty either. Again, not that I've never done that before. All right, so now I'm going to cover this with clear, this is clear embossing powder. And we're just going to load it up good. And I need to get some more clear embossing powder. Okay, I used my whole jar, or what was left of it, but there'll be lots left after I dump it out. So I'm going to dump this off, and I want to get as much of it off as I can. I didn't bring my little brush with me. You know, I always remember there's something I forget when I'm in the middle of this. But I don't remember when I'm putting stuff out here. Okay, you can see mostly where the stars are. I think it looks pretty good. I could probably add a couple right over here if I wanted. It doesn't have to be totally covered with something. So let me scoop that on there and see what helps me out a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay, yeah, I like those there. So now I am going to heat emboss this. And I could be nice like Kathy and turn off my volume, but I'm not, because frankly, I'm afraid if I do that, I won't get it back on. And I'm hoping it's working. So I'm going to try this. Actually, I'm going to grab, this is what I use for my embossing. This is not pretty, but if you've ever come to my classes, you know this is what we use. It's an old cake pan, and it helps heat from the bottom. Plus it protects my surface underneath. And I can hold it down, and I don't have to worry. You can see it start to turn. I don't know if you can hear me over the noise. But you can see easily when it turns, and as soon as it turns clear, just move on. You don't want to overheat and burn your paper. And I kind of like to stay in one spot until it turns and then move on, because it's easier for me to see where I am. And you're probably not hearing any of this over my nose. So I'll repeat afterwards just in case. Okay, so all the clear embossing powder has now turned clear, and you should be able to see that it's shiny where it's been embossed. What I was trying to say over the noise, in case you didn't hear me, was when I emboss, I tend to stay in one spot. It's best if you can be straight up and down. I'm kind of at an angle for the camera's sake, but because you can then, if you stay in one spot, you can see it change, and then you can move along. If you go like this, sometimes it changes so slowly and it's changing everywhere that it becomes difficult to see, and you can then overheat it. Overheating's not a good thing. If you overheat embossing powder, it will tend to just burn off. It just goes away. So, all right, so that's where we are now. Now we have one more step to Joseph's coat, and I'm bringing in my black Memento ink. And for this step, it's Halloween, so I'm using black. But in all honesty, you can use, depending on what colors you're using underneath, you can use any dark background. An early espresso works great. Night of Navy works great. As long as your colors behind it, you want them to be able to show through. I did try one of these with like the Starry Sky, and because my oranges and greens are so intense, it did kind of show through those. So I ended up staying with black, and I think for Halloween, black is good. So I'm going to use the same sponge daub, a different one, but one sponge dauber. And now I'm just going to start coloring in the whole thing with black, and you'll see how the colors pop. You see how that's already popping, the color? Isn't that cool? It's like magic. It feels like magic. And when I was putting my colors on the background, I could have made the sections of color smaller so that I'd have more variation throughout the card. There's all different kinds of things you can do with this technique. Stripes are fun. You could see like stripes in your hat if I had colored the colors in stripes. This is just kind of a random pattern, is sort of the easy, basic way to do it. And you're just going to keep putting on black Memento until this thing is nice and black all over. Start here. Now what I would normally do is I would take a piece of paper towel or a tissue and wipe this off. But I'm not going to do that today because you know what? I forgot to bring one. It's almost like I should sit here and do this so I have everything and make a card before it. But it shows pretty well. So I think that's pretty well covered. You can always go back and if you see a spot where it's not quite as black as you would like it, just go and fill in. Okay, and that is Joseph's coat, and this is Inky Fingers. Let me try to wipe this on here a little bit if I can. I could just go get a tissue and show you, couldn't I? Since I have one very close. I'm coming back. I haven't forgot you. This is the joy of live videos. And again, mainly you want to buff it on the embossed areas. It just brightens it up a little bit. I'm not sure it's critical on a Halloween card, but black's black on Halloween. So that is Joseph's coat. Easy, right? And here is my completed card. I continue, and you can see no two are ever going to look alike, but they're similar. But the colors are different in different places. Like this hat's pretty much all green and purple, and here I've got a little bit of everything on that hat. So down here I've got more color in this one, and this one turned into a lot of purple. So they're all going to look different, but isn't it fun? I think it looks like magic. So that's my Halloween card. The sentiment here on the front, this stamp set, by the way, has no sentiments, which when I went to make the card was the first time I realized that. But it does have this cute little spider, so I put him on there. And the hello is from Artistic something. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Probably should have written it down. I'm thinking Artistically Inked is the hello. And the inside, of course, does not have any sentiments in this step. So this is from a retired one from last year. And which way to the candy is most fitting question for me personally. To do this hat on the inside, I did not use, obviously, the Joseph's coat technique, but I just took my sponge daubers. Didn't even really have to ink them up again because they have a lot of ink still on them. And I inked up the hat stamp randomly with my pumpkin pie, Highland Heather, and Granny Apple Green, and then I just stamped it on here. So, and I did the same thing on the envelope to add the little hat on the envelope. So that is my card made with the Bewitching stamp set. I do have one more that I want to show you. I also tried to make this with the Lovely You stamp set. Like I said, it works best if you have somewhat solid images. And as I was going through my stamp sets, I realized I don't have a lot of solid image stamps. Now this one, and I know everybody likes flowers, so I thought I'd do flowers, but this was the only one I had with solid image stamps that was flowers. So I made a small piece. Actually, I made the same size piece and then I die cut it from it. So this uses the same technique with just a few different colors. I think I have Daffodil Delight, Poppy Parade, Tahitian Tide, and Granny Apple Green again. So that's my other card. So I hope you like this technique. I hope you give it a try. Let me flip back to my other camera. Always takes me a bit to figure that out. Sorry about that. Kathy's much quicker at this, but she's been doing it a little longer, and I'm probably just slow. So anyway, that is the Joseph's Coat technique. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you give it a try. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and we will do our best to answer any and all questions. If you would like to share this video, please do so. We would love to have you share it and get some more people watching. So thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.